Welcome to Discussions of Exploration, and today you're with your host Sabrina Ben Salmi and with my special guest called Tony J. Selimi. Tony J. Selimi is someone that I really admire and respect, and I feel very fortunate to be able to call him a friend. Tony is an award-winning author, filmmaker, and one of the world's leading business mentors and life coaching specializing in human behaviors. Tony epitomizes the migrant dream. Growing up in Gostiva, a small town in North Macedonia, Tony came to the UK at the age of 20 with just £250 in his pocket and a small backpack on his back. He lived homeless, worked for 18 hours a day, and by 28, against all odds, he had graduated from one of the top engineering universities in the UK, University College London. 2 years later, he bought his first home and spent the next 14 years developing global teams and leading billion-pound technology transformation programs. He shattered conventions by becoming a self-made millionaire in the history of refugee teenage victims of war. Today, celebrities, MPs, lords, CEOs, entrepreneurs, authors, coaches, musicians, scientists, doctors, actors, people from all professions and businesses from all market sectors seek his expertise to effectively deal with addiction, anxiety, low self-esteem, confidence, depression, grief, loss, and develop and deliver solutions to their personal, professional, and business problems. Internationally, he advises mentors, coaches, and speakers on subjects encompassing leadership, personal and professional development, employee engagement and empowerment, mental health, diversity and inclusion, stress management, business success principles, how to create series of books and sell millions of copies, wealth building and attaining financial freedom, self-mastery, and the importance of spiritual intelligence in life and leadership. Tony's speaking consultancy expertise expands to areas of entrepreneurship, mindfulness, careers progression, startup, dissolving relationship conflict. I wonder if you can share with the listeners some of the platforms that you've been interviewed on. I know that you've got an amazing list of interviews that you've had in conjunction to Living Your Illusion. Now, I must thank you for inviting myself and my mother to the opening of that, which were absolutely remarkable. And you attracted some media attention, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, Sky, etc. Could you tell us a bit about that journey before we get into our discussion?
Yeah, sure. I mean, my media attention started when I actually published my first book, A Path to Wisdom, How to Live a Balanced, Healthy, and Peaceful Life. It's little I knew back then that my book will reach million copy bestseller and reach 5 times international bestselling book on Amazon in multiple countries around the world, starting from 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18. So it's been like every year it's been picked up by different marketing agencies without even actually paying me for marketing. So BookBub, which is one of the biggest marketing stuff, got hold of my book. Somebody read it in there and they just advertised it through their 2.5 million people. So in 2018, again, won the international best-selling and it topped up the charts. I had all the teachers I used to learn from, such as Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield, Dr. John DeMartini, Brian Tracy, Deepak Chopra, Barbara Brennan, all of those teachers. So it was a huge confidence. And as a result of that, I started getting a lot of media attentions around the world.
Wow. Absolutely amazing.
So far, I've been interviewed on over 500 TV, radio, and podcasts, and reaching over 100 million people. So in one form or the other, there's more than 100 people out there who know about my work, know about the books, know about the mission to bring this unique method to transform the lives of 1 billion people. Because I believe with all of my heart, if people were to learn the 25 principles within the book, Path to Wisdom that I shared, TGSE method alone, they will be able to empower all of the 8 key areas of life. As a result, then consciously transform the evolution of human consciousness.
Absolutely remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
So Living My Illusion was a byproduct of that, and Living My Illusion benefited as a result of that.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So we've been driving Living My Illusion through that.
Absolutely wonderful. So as you've actually mentioned Living My Illusion, I wonder if you can expand for the listeners with regards to what is that? Where can they find that documentary? And, you know, just tell us a bit more about that aspect of what you do.
Well, the Living My Illusion project came as a co-creation between myself and two of my clients who own a technology company, who hired me initially to build the technology business. But in the process, I ended up doing also relationship coaching, and both of my clients, Timmy and Joel, they felt so inspired that they put the camera on themselves to share their journey about the work that they were experiencing and the transformation this method did in their life, in their business, in their life, with their mental health, with their relationship, with their clarity about who they are and what they want to do in their life. So we filmed that journey, and then we squeezed all of that into the first episode, which is called The Truth Hurts, which for my 50th birthday on 12/12, 2019, we launched it on Amazon Prime, so people can actually watch it on Amazon Prime.
Wow, amazing. What a way to celebrate your birthday, and what a gift to the world. I love that you actually gifted such a priceless tool to the world on your birthday. So that's amazing, and thank you, Tony. What I would like to do is just go back in time, because one of the things that I really love about your journey is where you started. See, often I find that people that approach me, they often say, well, this is where I am. I don't think I can do it. I don't think it's possible for me because I don't have what it needs. I don't have the correct tools. I don't know the right people. But truth has it, when you came here to the UK, going back into your bio, you didn't have much.
Well, not just I didn't have much, Sabrina. I was fully mentally, emotionally, financially, familially, fully destroyed. I mean, if you think zero is the zero, I would say I was in minus 1,000, because as you can imagine, hopefully you can imagine what it means like to live through a civil war, where once you have an identity and suddenly all your neighbors and all the people you grew up with become your enemies. So apart from suffering through that, apart from being engaged and being taken from our school banks and being made forced to join the army and fight the war I despised in my heart, and on top of that, going through that war, going through that process, and going through losing family members' identity, losing everything I've known, and then my life was saved, and I ended up homeless on the streets of London. And even then, I had to battle with the ramification of, as a teenager, of the post-traumatic stress disorder that happens to many people out there who go through any form of trauma. And on top of that, trying to understand, my mom's decision to save my life, and I wanted to give my life to save my mom. So, it was extremely difficult times that no words can really describe first few years in this country. Especially on top of that, I didn't speak the language. I knew nothing about the culture. I knew nothing about the support children can have. I knew nothing about what refugees can have and everything else. The only thing I knew how badly back then Home Office used to treat refugees and migrants, and the long queues in Croydon, and how you were treated like you were the lowest of the lowest of the lowest, without ever somebody coming out and asking a question, how are you? Wow. Do you need a drink? And the countless time I've been there and being rejected consistently being asked to provide evidence, while I was the evidence, while the whole world was showing the evidence on TV and radio and in every format you can see, but still making your journey trying to settle down in a country after you're going through those traumas even more difficult, instead of opening up the support structure needed for children and other adults who escape war to be able to settle and being able to give them a new future.
Wow, thank you so much, Tony. Tony, I thank you for being so open and vulnerable with sharing the true essence of your beginning, because I feel that that is going to be such a treasure for our listeners, because I want you guys to recognize the fact that it doesn't matter where you start. And Tony's going to guide us, like, what did it take for him to get from where he was to where he is today. So I wonder if you can start to piece together, what was the key elements that started to take form within you? Or was it external? Was there some external triggers? Was it going on internally, or was it a combination of the two?
I think it's a combination of two, and I believe for every human being, it is a must to have the combination of two. Otherwise, we'll end up creating an illusion of who we are. So, you know, when people, for instance, ask me why people would need a coach, and a lot of people have become coaches apparently, and a lot of people know everything. The reality, I give them a very powerful metaphor. So when people say everything is within, I'll get all the answers. And then when you look at the reality, they don't really have anything. So I said, well, if that is the case, your reality would show the truth. So if your reality is showing you're struggling financially, if your reality is showing you're single, if your reality is showing you don't have a business, if your reality is showing you don't have money to pay for the things you want, if your reality is showing you're struggling in many other areas of life, so where is that wisdom that you keep telling yourself and keep creating that illusion it's all within me? So this is where I say people need to be very careful of what has been projected out there by many people in spiritual personal development. Why? Because I give them the metaphor saying, yes, the earth has all the elements, but it took a man to take those elements and to manipulate them and create buildings, create restaurants, create food, create trains, create the transport, create the communication system, create the technology. So earth did not create that. Okay, so it's the same. That's where a great mentor and great teacher can help you with that. So I believe it's a combination of both of you doing your inner work, investing in yourself and learn as much as you can, but get a great mentor, get a great teacher, great somebody who can guide you and help you through that and make sense of your reality from a very different perspective. Because, you know, we didn't invent the rear mirrors in the cars for no reason. We invented them to be safe and to drive safe when we are on motorway. Similarly, we cannot see what's behind me. You can see right now, Sabrina.
Yeah.
I might see it on a screen in here because I've got a screen, but the reality, we can't see it behind our back. This is where I always believe people, we need everybody around us and what's inside of us, and then create this bridge. And this is what basically, I guess, civil war and being homeless was just one of the adversities. In #loneliness, when I wrote #loneliness, I started thousands of people from around the world started writing to me saying, you wrote every chapter for me. And what I'm sharing in there, I'm sharing every single adversity. It's like this most sharpest knife that can sharpen you and can really reveal that godlike creature that's inside of you. Just like Leonardo da Vinci created the statue, I believe through this pain that we go through, which is this knife that we feel and we bleed, and we feel the pain through that. It's what shapes us. And in being able to, go through these things and being able to, whatever you can, to invest in your development of self, I think eventually your role gets shaped and your role and your purpose gets shaped according to how much pain you have transmuted into love and how much of those adversities have you been able to extract efficient ways so you can help other people. So when people ask me, it's about, all of this journey, the journey has not been one thing. It's been so many things that really brought me to the place where I'm today. And, people admire the success, admire the lifestyle, admire the kind of clients I work with. But that's a 30 years of commitment and consistency and persistency that I've done into this work, because in my heart, I believe every human being has the ability to transform themselves, and in doing so, transform other people's lives.
Absolutely. I hear from a little dicky bird that you're writing a book.
Yes.
And are you able to share any essence of this? As I'm really intrigued at how you communicate so much through your books. You give away so much. And I'm really excited about hearing about this new book. Are you able to spill any beans?
I can share some beans, no problem. I won't give you the entire recipe.
No, that's fine.
People will find out it. And what you said in there, it's yes, I'm sharing a lot of powerful things through books. Reason being, I realized that the kind of clients that I work with, not everybody has the ability momentary to be able to invest the money and the finances for that. But I believe every human being has the ability to buy a book and to start that journey through a book. So, it's a great start, for authors out there and for me to accumulate those 30 years of knowledge into a tool that people can use. So when I will tell you the journey, it's like the 3 books, one about path to wisdom, #loneliness, Fit for Purpose Leadership book number 3. Then and now the Unfakeable Code. And the Unfakeable Code, it's really helping people to take off all of those masked personas that they built over a lifetime, and then get back into their essence, and from that essence being able to live life on their terms. Because, and also take back control. You know, it's a lot of people have lost control of the direction their life is going. So with, like, for instance, if we look at the current crisis with Corona crisis, a lot of people are panicking. But my students, none of my students are panicking. Why? Because we've been doing the work, and they've been doing this work, they have applied the method, and they applied all the things that I'm teaching, including when it comes to how to become financially free, which basically I've encouraged all of my students that whatever we make for that year, they put 10% aside. So if something happens, the business can continue for a year. So have liquid assets in the business. So whatever ups or downs on the economy, you're not driven emotionally. And unfortunately, this is what's happening now, because some people who are used as entrepreneurs, like moms like yourself, who are used to homeschool their children at home, you don't find it very shocking, because for you, the life goes on every single day. But unfortunately, for majority of people in the world, this is a shock, and it will create that post-traumatic stress disorder. So I thought, let me bring a tool out there to help these people and help the young generation who are hiding behind technology and creating masked personas about who they are, and afraid to show their true authentic being. So basically the book is taking you on a process of basically unpeeling all those layers and actually understanding what authenticity means to you as an individual. And you are unfakeable, meaning there's no copy of you out there in the world, but you are made to believe you are not. And you are made to believe that you are not good enough. And you're made to believe that you have to hide yourself in order for you to speak as yourself. So there are many, it's a journey, and in there I'm actually revealing the code that people can use to consistently upgrade their mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, business faculties, so they can really live life freely on their terms. So economy does not dictate how you inside feel, nor what's your reality around you, but you are smart about it, so you become a great, I would say, surfer of the waves of life.
I love that. I really love that. I love that golden nugget you've shared. I just want to touch on the aspect of the shock, the post-traumatic shock. And I know that you've discussed with me that you have set up a crisis Skype call specific for what's going on right now. I wonder if you can share that with the listeners, and then I'll ask some more questions thereafter.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things what I've been doing since I started my business in 2012 is I've always offered for clients around the world who could not travel to where I was, whether London or somewhere else, I always offer them Skype sessions. But since the coronavirus, what happened is I saw a lot of people almost like panicking and being in fear, not knowing how to navigate the uncertainties for themselves, for people they may employ, or if you're a solopreneur about your own business or your clients and stuff like that. So basically, because of my clients have been already doing that, I very quickly adjusted my entire business into this virtual office that you see around me. So straight away, all of my clients, we transform their sessions into those Skype crisis management, because the reality is each person is unique. Their values are unique, so is the business. So I really provide a very custom-made solution that my clients we can go sit down, first of all, understand their reality. This is the first process of the crisis, to see what is it that they perceive as a crisis. And then I'm looking at understanding, creating a foundation for them to create a whole new thing. For instance, I recently worked with a business owner here in central London who had a restaurant. And a lot of restaurant owners around the world are struggling at the moment. They have to lay off staff and everything else. But she worked with me every single day, and we're still working with her. And she now, 6 weeks down the line, doubled her entire monthly income through online business. So we transformed her entire business, restaurant business, while her first initial fears when we started working, she needed to lay down the staff, the kitchen, all of that. All the products that are perishable will have to be thrown, blah, 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 blah. So very quickly, within a week, we transformed that into a delivery business, food delivery, home made cooked delivery business. We created a whole brand new menu, which is simplified menu of the restaurant that it can actually provide very quickly turnaround for supplying her customers. We informed all of her customers about that she's offering ready-made meal. So we turned her restaurant business in central London to be more profitable than ever in her life.
Oh, I
So
love
reality is, in crisis, there is a blessing. History has taught us that. Many philosophers out there have said the same thing. But what I see it as part of the human behavior is the fact that our animalistic part of our brain, which is the amygdala, kicks in for most people because they have not learned how to manage those internal faculties. And this is why I'm writing those books. This is why I write Path to Wisdom. That's why I created TGSE Method Alarm. If people were to adopt those 25 principles across all of the 8 key critical areas of life, and they do it every single day, what they actually do, and they're upgrading their psychology in the same way they upgrade their apps, in the same way they upgrade their technology. And in order for us to actually move forward through those crises, I believe in people managing themselves and being able to upgrade the psychology for the existing reality, you have much better chances for you to move forward in life and create the success and create the wealth, create the fulfillment, create the meaning while you're going through those turmoils and learn all the lessons, and then use also those lessons to help other people overcome whatever it struggles them. So those Skype crisis management sessions are for entrepreneurs, are for business owners, for professional people, for leaders. I have people, from certain backgrounds, influential backgrounds, that basically they had to withdraw. Musicians anymore cannot go and have concerts. They had to cancel concerts. A lot of tickets have to be refunded. I have actors who are the same, who cannot go and film anymore. So, I have a lot of different people from different backgrounds, and some companies, they also hired my services to have certain key employees to be able to have 1 hour key sessions a week to be able to see what they can do during this time. Because basically, what people must understand, this is the time where you must invest in yourself, invest in your business, and see how you can help those employees to support you while you're going through this thing. So when the things turn back, you're actually ready to go out there and serve more people.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing to listen to. Thank you so much. And if you're listening to this, I want you to really take heed of what Tony's sharing. I love the essence of the fluidity and flexibility. So there are a lot of people that go into trauma and they contract and they go inwards, and that's okay. Initially, we understand that it's okay to feel your emotions. But what Tony's saying that after and by working with him is that it hasn't gone away. The customers haven't gone away. It's just a different way of doing things. And when you have a coach in your life, like what you're saying, the minerals are in the earth, it takes man to come along and to pull it out. Because we can't see our own blind spots. We maybe can't see the next steps, especially if we're in a state of fear and trauma. And this is where Tony Selimi comes in, Jay Selimi comes in. So Tony, I wonder if you can take us on the journey of what are some of the issues that people tend to face, or that, I guess, negative belief systems that stop them from working with a coach or a mentor. Because I've had some interesting conversations, and people say, well, I don't need a mentor right now because everything's okay. And I'm like, well, actually, that's the whole essence of having a coach and mentor. It's not for you to wait for being sick. You have that in there to maintain your life so you can keep going on the right track. What would you say in response to that sort of essence?
Well, I want to, first of all, crash those myths. The kind of people I work, they don't use that kind of language. So that's number one, meaning people who have the wealth in the background, they will never say, I don't need a coach. I've not met any person so far who has any form of wealth in the background to tell you, I don't need a coach. Okay? They will investigate what is it that you can do for them. And if there's a fit, they'll go ahead with it. But majority of people that I've heard from people, and in my past I've come across, it's people who struggle and they find that as an excuse. They use that as an excuse not to go forward in their lives. So, and it could be a very real excuse that people don't have the wealth. But looking back at my own life, I never gave myself an excuse. What I do to myself, it's the first thing I taught many people who have approached me. I was doing a talk in the same stage as Jack Canfield did. And I had a few clients from there that came around when they said to me, oh, we can't afford an expert like yourself. And then there was a lady who had a session with me the day before. She went like, honey, you can't afford not to work with an expert like Tony. Because it is an expert like Tony who will give you everything you always dream. And what I always tell people, if your heart truly wants something, your mind will find a way. So I always say to people, instead of saying I can't afford it, I always try to help them reframe that in themselves, saying, what is it I can do to make it happen? You know, that's a whole different empowering way at looking at how personal development can help you, how a coach, a mentor, a healer, therapist, a scientist, whatever it might be out there can help you. Because if you keep running that thing, that program, I can't afford you, you know, most people who tell me I can't afford you also are the people who tell me I believe in the law of attraction. And then I'm hearing them and they tell me this and I went like, okay, you are delusional. You know, on one hand, you say, I believe in the law of attraction. On the other hand, your language does not match. Then your behaviors do not match, your attitudes don't match. So this is where the alarm method, TGSE method, is about alarming you, whether you are in alignment with that which you speak and that which you want.
I love that. I love that. You know, I'm a big advocate for personal development, and I say exactly the same thing to people when I meet them, is that how can you afford not to? And it really is a case, not how can, you know, I can't afford it. It's like, how can this be possible? I find that it's in our language. Sometimes we've learned how to ask the question in the wrong way. So it ends up to be a yes or no answer. Whereas if you say, you know, what would need to happen in order for this to take place, then you get the answer of what needs to happen, and then you can move forward in that way. So I really love that, Tony. I really do. So with regards to the work that you do, can you explain, I know you can't go into the essence of what you do in a detailed fashion, but can you explain the kind of journey that you will have with your client as they invest in themselves with you? Because I guess people have different perceptions of what coaching is, what mentoring is, and it would be nice if they can get an eye-opener to how you actually work with people.
Well, there's the two type of clients I work. The clients who are individuals from all different professions or solopreneurs or whatever the profession may be. And then I have clients who are business owners or businesses. So those are two different things. And the process is, the first process is the same. So in the first consultation, for individual clients, it's a 2-hour. Basically, this is what I call the clarity consultation, where in 2 hours, I extract out of them what is it that they want, and what is it the reality they want to create, and what is the problem in between. So I make it extremely clear in detail, so they come up with tears of gratitude at the end of those 2 sessions. And at the corporate level, I usually recommend clients to book either half a day or full day, depending how big the business is. And in that, I go and then I do the same process of understanding, first of all, the senior executives, what is their vision, what are their values, and see whether there is a match between that with what the reality shows. And if it's not, I will make them see it until they have tears of gratitude and saying, oh my God, we are living an illusion. We're expecting something, but we are not doing that which we want, that matches the expectation. And then I look at the senior management, their perceptions of their executives, their perceptions of the rest of the people. And then I look at them, what is the most important 3 things they want to establish and they want to create by end of 1 year working with me. You know, this could be people development, could be leadership, could be increasing their profits, could be creating new products, it could be, you know, implementing efficiently their mental health, or maybe they have problems with diversity, with inclusion, maybe they have conflicts, maybe sometimes I've had clients who just hired me to sit silently in the meeting to understand the negotiation process that they do with big clients, and then give them feedback that I actually make a note and I tell them the results before they even happens. Because I can understand the human energy field, which I talk about in #loneliness, that we have the ability to communicate with one another before we even open our mouth. So, you know, my clients sign their check before I even say anything. Okay, so it's the first process is really identifying. This is why this unique work is so unique, because it's custom made to you. And when it's custom made to you, you know, I've had people saying, oh, I'm like you. I said, really? I said, have you have you got a master's? No. Have you studied engineering? No. Have you studied psychology? No. Have you done this? No. Have you been in the war? No. Have you served over, I don't know how many thousand people? No. Have you done over 50,000 mentoring? No. So how are you like me? So this is when I catch the bullshit that people tell you. And we are so used to telling bullshit until somebody like myself comes in there and catches you in your own words. So, you know, I'm a bullshit and a liar catcher, because the first thing to improvement is to be able to see that in yourself. And this is where, when I'm talking about the unfakeable code, and I think, you know, the first chapter, I think it's so relevant while we're talking about this. The first chapter is called Take Off the Mask, Meet Your Soul. Okay, so that's one little secret I'm giving you before anybody else hears about this. So just that on its own, if a person sits and meditates on that, and if there's somebody they work with them, you have no idea how much information gets revealed about you, about your life, about your bullshit, about the things that you're not doing or you don't know how to do. So this work is very unique, and this is a lot of the clients have done a lot of personal development workshop. They've gone through seminars, they've done a lot of things. They end up coming and working with me privately. Why? Because my focus, my entire 30 years of wisdom is focused on them. So it's a very unique experience that each client, whoever I work with, they can tell you about it. And, you know, I've got lots of testimonials of very powerful people. So for me, it really gives me joy to be able to use these 30 years of really helping people to wake up to their greatness. But not just wake up using the words, but wake up that their reality transforms in alignment with that which they speak, say, think, feel, and love.
Wow. Wow. You're making it so difficult for me to talk to you, Pat, to you, Tony. I just want to listen. Like, I love what you're saying. You see, one of the things that I really get intrigued by is how easily we are to picking up the mask in the first place. And I think this starts way down in childhood, that we're always taught that being us is not good enough. You know, one of the reasons I've parented my kids the way I do, like, you've got me so excited, my head's just buzzing with all these different thoughts, that I want my children to learn as young as possible that being them is okay. The trouble is we get bogged down by washing away who we are. So by the time we get to adulthood, we have no idea. Half of us don't even know the process has taken place. What would you say around that, around how because sometimes when I hear people say wearing a mask, is like, some people feel that they've done it intentionally. I know some people do it. They go out purposely, they'll put on and they go, okay, now out there I'm Lisa, inside I'm Sam. But some people don't realize that they've been wearing a mask their entire life, but it's been such a slow process has been taking place over a long period of time. They're not even realizing it's happened.
I wouldn't say they wouldn't realize. What I say is maybe they don't have the awareness of putting words into what they're experiencing. Because that unfakeable self, which I'm talking in the book, Sabrina, I'm so driven with my heart that I write every paragraph, that I know every child around the world, every adult around the world, every parent around the world, every married couple, single, whatever sexuality, whatever religion they will read, it will awaken this wisdom inside of them. So I know this exists in them. So there's no person on the planet, no matter what they're experiencing, their uncertainty can shake my knowing. And when you show up with that level of certainty within yourself, in somebody who is uncertain, there's no choice but that knowing to wake up. Okay, and that's why I believe that basically this is so important now, people, what they're doing. This is why I wanted to get this book out through this process and get it out, because as we go through these coronaviruses, a lot of people are disorientated with their lives. So those masks that maybe people may not know, but the reality is they're unfakeable being, that authentic being inside of themselves. Although they might not know the words, it knows you are faking it. It knows you are lying. It knows you are not being what you can be. And this is why I went on this journey, because this is why my heart was like, I'm going to bring this work to 1 billion people. And I'm going to teach around the world. I'm going to work with clients. I'm going to change education, healthcare. I'm going to bring this work in business, in leadership, and in politics around the world. And for some reason, I'm getting clients from all the different things. And as I mentioned earlier in our private conversation with Dr. Emanuele, for instance, who's been working with me for 5 years, been exposed to these teachings and invested a lot of money. I'm not cheap, and I don't claim to be cheap. My parents used to say, if you want the best, go for the best. And the best does not come cheap. So, and my clients know that. So they don't even, they don't even try to bring my prices down. They just honor the price. And then through the journey, they say, I could have paid you double if you asked. So this is the client, as if you have that value. And because I've been investing in myself for 30 years, I did not invest in buildings, in cars, and in all the things that people invest. I invested in knowledge, and now I'm using that knowledge to create everything, not just only for me, for everybody I work with. So, in ourselves, this knowledge exists. So for me, it's just opening up that knowledge. And for those people who potentially may think they don't know, reality is when I ask them questions, it shows straight away.
Yes. Oh, wow. I'm so excited. I cannot recommend that you get the book enough. Like, I love the way Tony described it, because although you may be living the illusion, reading the pages of those books, and all three of them, the third one's coming, reading the pages of those books will reveal to you the truth that you've been hiding from yourself and from the world. Okay. And
well, I could read you a paragraph.
Oh, please do. I think we're in for a treat.
So, because I mentioned to you the first chapter, so I'm going to read you and all the listeners around the world.
Thank you, Tony.
The first stuff. So let me get the first 1 second.
Very kind of you. Very, very kind of you. So, just as a recap, I love the essence of Tony saying that you are so unique. There is no one like you in the world. No matter if someone's had a similar journey, there is no one that, as my daughter would say, that can sing your song, walk your walk, or dance your dance. So
absolutely.
I think Tony's ready. Are you ready?
So basically, I'm going to read you the introduction, the first part of the chapter.
Thank
called Take Off the Mask, Your Soul is Waiting. And whoever is listening to this interview, I would love you to spend a few minutes just on that, meditating. Okay? So somewhere deep inside of you, behind every masked persona you show to the world, patiently awaits your soul. How true is that? Intuitively, there's an intelligence within that equally frightens and empowers you. A resourceful intellect that guides you in every awakening moment of your physical and spiritual life. A teacher and a student patiently awaiting your instruction somewhere hidden in the kingdom of your soul, with a knowledge of something much more potent than your present moment awareness of it. You have a power and a knowing of what your soul calling in life is that no one else around you can explain in ways you can.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for that gift. That was an impromptu gift, and I really appreciate and receive it open-heartedly. I absolutely love what you shared, and I think the whole of humanity right now can benefit so much by hearing those words. So I really, like, if you're listening to this, I really encourage you to share this within your network and even with strangers. I think now's the time for really giving and sharing and caring from a true essence. See how you can show up as the true you, because I feel that some of us know exactly what we want to do, who we are, but we're so frightened about the greatness and unleashing that on the world. And just like Tony's saying, the world's waiting for it, and you've waited way too long to actually reveal the true essence of who you are with the world. So I'm kind of mincing on my words, because I'm just reflecting on the text that you shared, Tony, and I thank you, because I hearing the words that you echo into the world and the journey that you've had, it really shines light to the true testament of the level of commitment you had to have for your own personal development, for not giving up. Because I'm sure there would have been times when you wanted to give up. I'm sure there would have been times when you just thought, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but you kept going.
Even trying to kill myself.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm
even
glad.
trying to commit suicide. And so all of those things have gone through my life. And people who read my journey fully, in Path to Wisdom, I share just a bit, but in #Loneliness, what I wanted to do before I share them, the concept of oneness, it's to understand where I came and to be able to map up that journey for themselves of where they came and where they're heading. Because I knew in my heart, if I cannot be transparent and open with my pain, with my struggle, with my suffering, and with everything that I would say took the soul out of me, and be open with every human being out there on the planet, any sentient being out there on the planet, there's no way I could be a great teacher in great service to mankind. So my calling was to be of service globally. And what I say to people, often people try to jump far ahead. You know, I want to change the world, but you cannot change the world unless you've changed your own world first. You know, you cannot go out there, change the world if your own situation in your own life, your finances, your everything, your own house, it's in order. If your children, your family, the people around you, you haven't helped. Okay, so people who I've met and inspired me and now support me at the same level as themselves, including DeMartini, including John, they said to me 10 years ago, Tony, you're on a journey to stand at the shoulders of the biggest giants humanity has ever had. And now I am there. And, you know, being there is only because of that commitment, both mental, emotional, financial, in every single way. I knew in my heart who I am, what I want to do. And I knew that since I was a kid. So the journey to write A Path to Wisdom, it wasn't really when I was made redundant and I was threatened again living on the streets, and my flat that I bought, where I'm here, was about to be taken away by the bank, and all of that, I can pay my mortgage. So, you know, all of those things, when I put that together, all of those things, in a way, they can crush your mind and your perception of it, but it cannot crush the eternal being inside of you. And I think this is where, you know, some people said to me, because I've studied many comparative religions, some people label me as Muslim, other people as Christians, other people as Buddhists, other people as this. Well, I am all of that. And I am, if you call it God, if you call it spirit, if you call it whatever you might call it, I am part of that. And I think we are all part of light, that energy, that intelligence, that God that created everything. But it's the human mind that judges and separates. And I think at some point in history, there'll be, I think the level of awareness will come together that basically all of those religions, comparative religions, will come back into one voice. Why? Because our awareness of what's out there will become bigger. And then we will see that all of those things that served us for thousands of years, not necessarily anymore will serve a conscious evolution of people who don't want to be labeled anymore, who don't want a mask, okay? Who don't want to be separated by religion, by creed, by color, by sexuality, by whatever diplomas you received, okay? So what I'm talking about in the Unfakeable book, it's about how to awaken the true authentic power. And in my belief, no matter what religion you belong, if you don't have that unfakeability inside of it, there's no way you'll be in one with God, no matter what religion you are, okay? No matter what religion. I love and respect all of religions out there because for me, they are teachers. But the person who elevates themselves above that will see the universal order that they are in there to shape you until you are ready for true connection with God. And true connection with God is through our spirit, through our spirituality.
Wow, 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 wow. Yeah, I'm just soaking that up. I was very grateful that you invited us to your book launch for #loneliness. And I must say that I see that a lot of the emotional trauma that we're going through underpin it. This is like the root cause. And I love that you've somehow, and I really don't know how, you've managed to write book after book that really gets to the core of what's going on. #loneliness is the root cause of a lot of people's anger, disconnect, lack of self-worth. Is that the fear? I love when you say it's like being in your truth, because I really love the saying that only your truth shall set you free. Because when we're out there trying to be something that we're not, and this is what I had to accept on my own personal journey of self-discovery, and this is what I tell my kids, is that when they're growing up, it's all really cool being a part of, friendship circle, but are you you? Because if you're not you, it's not worth it. Because the truth of who you are, and if you're scared, say you're scared. It's like, oh, I'm not scared, you're not scared, we're not scared together, and then you go home and you're scared. I would rather be uncomfortable about putting my hands up at that moment and getting over what the issue is, rather than living with that for the rest of my life. And I really urge you as a listener to go out and purchase both of these books that are currently out, and the third one that's coming, because I think it will really, I know it will help you to get to the root cause of what's going on. Because right now, I look at people, and to say that I've really heard a lot of people be honest, they're not. Sometimes I say, are you lonely? And they say, well, no, I'm okay, I've got friends. But I'm not asking you to prove to me. I'm asking you a question. Are you lonely? Because if you're lonely, it's okay. Just say you're lonely, and then we at least know where we're going to start from, point A, to get you to point Z. And Tony, what would you like to share around that aspect of loneliness?
Well, I mean, after the success I've created with Path to Wisdom and the clarity it brought to myself and to everybody I serve, the more I started traveling and teaching my Vital Planning for Elevated Living, which is a private coaching mentoring experience, the more I started seeing how separated and lonely we become through technology. So although I love technology for what it does and everything else, but it should not be a substitute for human connection. It should be just an extension of who we are as a tool, rather than sort of a lot of people now using it as that. So every airport I went to, people stopped conversing the way they used to before, frankly. If I compare my travels when I was working in technology, before, like, let's say before 2010, between 2000 and 2010, more people were talking to me at airports, random people. Random people were talking to me wherever I was traveling. Now, in a culture I grew up in Northern Macedonia, by the time you go to the next town, you know the entire bus, you know the entire stuff. So I'm used to, to being social with people, and I love being social with people. But what I've noticed in London, taking the tube while I was working in the corporate world, every day I would take the tube, and people will not even speak to you, although they'll be the same people for the whole year. You go in the same carriage. We all have our preferred carriage. We all learn about which carriage will get us faster on the other end. And then we use the same carriages, and then we meet the same people. And it has become strange to strike a conversation just sitting next to somebody, without people being suspicious of you. And I went like, wow, I mean, what happened to the human element? What happened to the connection that we have with one another? What happened to our default need to connect and share and learn and be curious and just smile and get to know a person, even for it is for 5 minutes, 10 minutes on that journey, without those thoughts in our heads that people label as negative of what they want from me, who are you, and all of those things that come from judgment instead of being present. And again, I will stress it, usually it's the same people who tell, let's be present, let's be let's be loving, let's be this, and let's be that. But if you observe them in reality, they're none of that. Okay? So I really felt, let me write about the loneliness. It's a bug. And also, fortunately for me, I also met Mother Teresa when I was very young with my mom. And she's Albanian. And, she was born in Macedonia, and she traveled the world. And one of the things that she was a huge ambassador, it's about loneliness. So I said, then my mother went through loneliness after my father passed away. So, and then I looked at the corporate loneliness when I used to work in, going to the, I would say, big offices, and I would ask teams, and then they work together for 5 years and they don't even know each other. So I saw there was spiritual loneliness, there was loneliness in business, there was loneliness when I traveled, there's loneliness with people who lose their partners, there's loneliness with parents also who lose their children, which is tremendous void out there. And I said, how can I help these people to really get back to their essence of who they are so they can reconnect to that love within? And, you know, DeMartini, when he wrote the foreword for #loneliness, he calls it a balm for a restless soul.
That's beautiful. Do you know what?
And having a teacher like that, and, you know, people who have inspired me, now they getting inspired by my work, it's really a testament that I'm on the right track and I keep going and keep evolving and keep serving more people out there. So, you know, the idea is to bring it to as many people as possible. The idea is to get a lot of events organizers for me to go and speak and teach this method, to go to schools, to go to universities. I've started doing that, creating licensing modules from primary school, secondary school, MBA, university level, same in business, to be able people to just use the method and really create those connections, meaningful connections. Because when you have a meaningful connection with somebody, you are more likely to do business with them. You are more likely to share experiences. You're more likely to share knowledge. You're more likely to work around a solution. Now, we've seen that part of it now through coronavirus, where people are coming a bit together to really support one another. But I talked about that it's going to happen in #loneliness in 2016, 4 years ago. I even delivered a TED talk called Technological Armageddon, a wake-up call.
Wow.
So I warned humanity something like this is going to be happening, and it happened. So I've warned humanity on many levels, and some people listened and some people didn't listen. Those people who are used to the work that I've done with them, they listen, they put those measures in place, so now they're not panicking. We're just creating the next cycle of growth, and we destroy whatever is not serving them anymore. We go to the next level. But loneliness, when I started doing the science behind that, because for me, although I'm a scientist and engineering, but I spent 30 years understanding healing world, the spiritual side of things. And for me, what makes difference and unique for my clients is this bridge that I create for them of material and spirit world, because this bridge is essential for you to empower your life. And a lot of people, they say, oh, I'm not spiritual. But when I go and ask millions of questions of them, they realize, they wake up and say, oh my God. And then a lot of people who tell me, I'm spiritual, I don't have matter, with me asking them a lot of questions, suddenly they realize that they are one. And for me, I said to many people, if you are seeking spiritual people and you see the spiritual people don't have any wealth, I'm not saying they're not good, but I'm saying that they both need to do some work to be able to transform material wealth into spiritual wealth into material wealth. And when somebody reaches that level, you can inspire a lot of people. Why? Because by default, we are yearning for that. We are called to be able to express ourselves. Our spirit wants to do everything it can. So no matter what you achieve in your life, you will never be satisfied. That I will tell you right now. So stop living the illusion you sometimes will be satisfied. Why? Because you are that God inside of you. And the chapter I'm writing right now, I talk about this. You are that God inside of you that basically, no matter what it achieves, it wants something new. It will destroy something it doesn't serve. And if we look at that, nature tells us exactly the same process. So, I see people, they say nature tells us, but they're not listening in themselves exactly what nature is telling them. So also there's that balance. So there's a chapter in #loneliness, and I highly recommend everybody to read it. Why? Because it will give you this harmony between self and nature. Yeah. So the one it's duality, the nest of solitude. And I recommend everybody who's interested in that to really read Duality, the nest for solitude. So it's in page 103. And I'm just going to share with you how I start the chapter and with our audience. So the nest of solitude, okay? So if people were to really, again, go back most of my clients said, Tony, you need hundreds of thousands of facilitators to just discrumble one sentence from you, to bring the wisdom out of one sentence. And recently I was reading, again, like you and all the people who are listening to this, to my client in America, Tammy Demirza. It was an amazing relationship and intuitive that works with a lot of people. So I've created a 7 series of most amazing books for her to be #1 in America. And we are on that journey now. But she said to me, Tony, we just need hundreds of thousands of facilitators to be able to descramble your language. But let me share with you, when you're alone and feeling lonely, rejected, uncared for, and isolated, it's hard to see the positives in your life. The side of your life where you feel connected and loved. I will share with you an important existential factor that makes it hard for you to identify the skewed perception that causes the internal disconnect. What I will share is a fact of life that stops many from overcoming loneliness and adversity. The most difficult part of your journey to connectedness, love, and living in oneness is becoming aware of your traits, adversities, habits, values. They have caused you to disconnect in the first place.
Wow, I love that. I love it. Do you know what I love? If you're a listener listening to this, I know Tony's described lots of different situations and scenario. And if for any reason you go, well, I'm in a relationship and I've got my children, I haven't lost anyone, and feel, well, that's not really for me. One thing you have to understand, loneliness affects us all in different ways, no matter our situation. You may be in a marriage where you seem to be the only one showing up in the relationship. You're there together every day physically, but there's no connection. So the aspect of loneliness that Tony's conveying is every aspect, and there'll be something in the book that will connect with you. You may have children, you may have a very large family, but the chances are maybe you've never been your true self around them. Maybe you can't really connect and have those conversations that you want to have. So that's also another variation of loneliness. So don't feel that there's something physical having to be missing from your life. Loneliness can just be a case of you just feel alone in your family, misunderstood, unheard, and unseen.
Yes, I mean, it's one of the things I've worked with so many parents to be able to establish a better connection with their children, or work with children who've had addictions as a result, or not performing at school. And for any parents out there listening right now, and if you have that thing to saying, well, I'm not, I would love you to ask yourself this simple question. And the simple question is your child more open to their friends or to you?
That's a good one.
Okay? So in that simple question, if you have to make a list, not just think about it, but actually start writing down, you'll be shocked at the loneliness you will experience because your child is not as close to you as it's close to somebody else, which is totally not even the person who pays their bills, pays their schooling, washes them every single day, makes up their bed, carried 9 months in the womb and went through all the hardships. And suddenly a total stranger becomes more connected to your child than yourself. And this is a problem I see it globally with all the parents. They tell me this, we've lost this connection, we've lost control of our children. Mm-hmm. So that on its own creates loneliness.
Yes, I can definitely agree with you. I have definitely heard that. I've heard many parents having that trauma. And here's the thing. Now you've got some tools that you can reach out, listener, and actually delve into. This is all about your personal journey. Like Tony said, the services that he provides are very bespoke. It's not a cookie cutter formula that he does the same thing with everybody. It's about your personal journey because you're unique, and what you're going to bring to the world is also unique. So it'll be amazing if you can allow yourself to embark on that journey and see where it takes you. Reflect on the essence of what's the reality of your life? Where are you at right now? And I don't want you to think purely about what people can see on the outside. I really want you to reflect on the inside with regards to, are you happy? You see, sometimes we get caught up on the materialistics, the synthetics of how people see it and how it feels when people see it. But when you go home, how are you feeling? Yeah, I wonder if you can share, is there anything else you wanted to discuss and go into with the listeners?
Because we are going through this massive crisis around the world where borders have been shut and everything else, I would love to share.
We seem to have lost sound, Tony. Just pause a minute.
What I would love to share and leave the audience with is a couple of strategies they can use right now, try to deal with the uncertainty that COVID has made in their life. Now, first and foremost, I would love you to think about your health. And the reason I would love you to think about your health, because it's your immune system that can easily create those antibodies. And if you are having any form of uncertainty, any form of fear, any form of panic, what you're doing, you put in your amygdala at overload. In doing so, it creates a lot of chemical reaction inside of you that actually drops your immune system, which makes you more prone to actually catch the virus, or even if you caught the virus, to be able to fight it. So what I would say, first of all, put in your agenda on a daily basis, what is it that you can do that inspires you? This will keep your amygdala at bay. And write down those inspiring actions with whatever you value in your life. So if it's your family, do things with your children. If it's your business, do things that actually grow your business. If it is, socially, go on Facebook and create WhatsApp groups and do things like that that really inspire. But do actions on a daily basis that keeps you on your frontal cortex. That basically have a clear vision for your life and let that vision drive you. Because when you let your vision drive you, your vision inspires you.
Yes, I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for that, Tony, because one of the things we've been talking about since we've been in this situation is that the vision is the postcode for the soul. So I love the fact that you're saying to them, be focused, be focused with the vision. What is it that's going to inspire you every day? Don't spend days just sat in front of the TV, watching what's happening next, watching the doom and gloom. Actually take harness of your life and be in control and move forward. Tony, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It always is. I am in awe of everything that you do, and this has always been the case. And it's every time I speak to you, it's like I meet you for the first time again. And it's really inspiring. I really love the fact that in order for you to call upon the truth for others, you first had to seek out your own truth. And I love that. I love that when a coach or a mentor is able to be the student and then be the teacher, but also being able to mentor others, and then that the student becomes the teacher. I love that essence of you, Tony. I really love the ability for you to do that. And I really thank you for what you're doing for us, for mankind, forever, and for myself as well. And just by, just being in our lives, the way you pour into people, it's beautiful. You're always there. It's really nice to be able to speak to you personally, and, just being in our lives, Tony. I really thank you for that. And, you know where to find me if there's anything that I can ever do. And listener, as you're listening to this, I want you to really be open to what Tony has really shared with you, because I know that there are several golden nuggets that Tony has actually shared, but I really want you to receive it from a premise of new understanding, not from, okay, I might have heard this before, I might know that before. What if you just choose to just bring out a new canvas, a blank canvas, and start from today implementing what Tony's saying? Because I find that people go, knowledge is power, and it's a bit like the analogy Tony used about taking minerals from the earth. Alone, it's nothing. It's in the implementation of. So there's no point just listening to this and saying, oh, it sounds good, and I once listened to something that really sounded good. It's in the implementation of. So please go ahead and implement the guidelines that Tony has actually put out. But more importantly, please go ahead and research, go online and purchase copies of Tony's book, and actually get in contact with Tony, contact his company, book in a consultation call, discovery call, because until you're in the hot seat, you don't really know what it is until you experience it. Don't just take my word for it. Don't just read testimonials. Go and have the experience so you have firsthand experience for yourself. So for me, it's thank you and goodbye. And Tony, thank you so much for joining me here.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart to you and all the listeners.
Thank you. Take care.